August 13th, 2017. You're looking at the satellite images of the western half of the northern hemisphere of our planet. Tropical storm Gert has now formed from what was just basically a low pressure in a very dry area. It's important to note that because you don't see it that often, but this has been one of the strangest years for trying to figure out what these hurricanes are going to do that I've seen in a long time. And I think it's got to do with that massive heat wave that's been over Europe they call Lucifer, and it's pushing a lot of dry air southward across the African continent and out into the Atlantic. But these images go back 96 hours, and the reason I'm doing that is to show you, and I have a reason, that out of nowhere you can have a storm. And we're watching another storm that's coming off the African coast, and we'll go into that. But Gert is now at 40 miles an hour, tropical storm. Central pressure is still not that low at 10, 11 millibars. It's moving north-northwest at 10 knots. Now, this storm, there's some information inside this little 10% yellow box that changes to a 30% chance in 5 days that you better pay attention to, and I'm going to show you why. It says an area of disturbed weather located southeast of Cabo Verde is associated with a tropical wave. The wave is forecast to merge with a broad area of low pressure located southwest of Cabo Verde in a day or two. Environmental conditions are expected to become more conducive for development of the system later this week. The last line, again, 30% chance. And if you look at the 5-day forecast, and again, 30% chance at that point. This was at 2 o'clock today. Again, the major sentence. The wave is forecast to merge with a broad area of low pressure, again, in the 30% chance. Now, guys, we're going to look at the low pressure. In the bottom right of this image is where the yellow X is, where they're watching the storm. Above it, southwest of Cabo Verde, is one of the largest areas of low pressure I've ever seen on this planet. Now, there's a little bit of dry air, and we've seen that mess with these storms throughout the summer, but this is large, and it's starting to pull moisture in. Again, at the bottom, down here, that's where the X is. But they're talking about that merging with this. Look at the rotation. Now, also, it's not just dry air anymore. If you look at the tops of these thunderstorms that are going to become feeder bands, they're already getting thunderstorms near the top. And this is the bottom storm they're watching. They're saying it's going to merge with this one. Now, look at that top wave, and you've got an intense band of thunderstorms already developing. It's not just dry air on the low surface. Now, look at the two sides and the two storms. Again, very light blue, you can see the low pressure area to the right under the main storm. But notice the green band of storms that's above that. That's telling you that it's already starting to pull moisture into that low pressure area. If that size of that storm forms and the energy is there and there's more moisture and more energy coming off the African coast as we speak, if it starts to wrap up with that low pressure, then we're going to have a hypercane, a superstorm. Now, they're the ones saying it was going to merge, and before I read that, guys, I was looking at these images and I was noticing the green area in the top of the screen to the right. No longer is it a dry, low pressure area. That's what they're saying. These two storms are going to merge, but that band right there is already starting to get thunderstorms. And if you look out to the feeder bands in the middle of the screen to the bottom, the thunderstorms are starting to become involved in that area. So both storms are being fed, but the one at the top is slightly dropping south as it moves west. The one on the bottom, as it moves west, is slightly moving north. They're starting to merge. The moisture and strength is going to be pushed into this system. Will it last through the dry air that's between it and Tropical Storm Gert? It's a large area of dry air, but moisture is already being pushed into it. This may be the one that we see this year that breaks through that dry air and these water vapor loops we've been looking at. But look at the size of that compared to Gert. That thing is almost as large as at least the eastern half of the United States. Check that out. I'm looking at different infrared images. Notice the white clouds starting to appear at the top of the yellow area in the low pressure. Those are thunderstorms. these storms are merging. Notice the white bands from the bottom storm being pulled straight north into that low pressure area. Again, check out the size that this thing has the potential to become. And again, compare it to Gert on the left side. Guys, this would be a hypercane or a superstorm. They're saying it's going to merge. They're saying that it has a chance of becoming stronger as it becomes in a more conducive environment. Look at that. If this thing continues to wrap around, we've never seen a hurricane like this. I never have. I've never seen anything except in one movie about a super hurricane. I can't even remember the name of it. 10 or 15 years ago. Just a quick look at Gert. All the models are still keeping it out to sea. But that is just the size of the particular models. Remember, the storm is larger than that. Look at your timestamp. 2 a.m. Tuesday. That's in the morning. It's going to be well off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. So you're just going to have to watch for the riptides and things. But this model has changed. And we also now seeing the CMC, which is the purple line, just start to notice the storm. It hasn't extended its spaghetti model out at all. But the maroon or darker line that we see go across the screen was pointed up this morning. Now it's starting to curve back down. As this will be super interesting to see because of the science of it, but also you're going to have to pay very close attention to it, guys. They're saying those two systems are going to merge, and I've never seen anything that big. And if you've ever seen one, I'd love to see a satellite image of it or anything. But with the planet and climate chaos, I'm not saying global warming. I'm saying climate chaos because things are changing so rapidly that we're seeing weather phenomena all across the planet. Again, Lucifer, which was the super heat wave north of the African coast here and extending down into Africa, if you remember the red map, that has kept that dry air pushing across the desert, coming in there and interrupting these storms. It looks like it's starting to build with some moisture. I'm watching it, guys. You watch it. We'll update it as needed for sure in the morning. It may be one late update, but it's getting dark there, and all we will have is infrared imaging. Another thing is in the morning, way before it gets daylight here, the sun will be rising over that storm coming off the coast of Africa. At that time, the heat of the sun will touch the top of these clouds. There's the energy. Again, I've never seen anything this big. I'm not saying it's going to develop. They're saying it's going to merge. It looks like it's going to merge together. If it does, we've got a problem on our hands. It's supposed to be into the Caribbean within a week along that edge of the Windward Islands. Again, we're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.